Welcome to a new episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Copper Connection podcast, the podcast where we dive into the world of building service engineering, keeping you safe, informed and connected to the industry and the powers of our built environment. As always, I'm your host Chris Bailey and this is episode 13. Today we're tackling a crucial topic that can literally save lives on site. Safety in evacuations and confined spaces. Whether you're a seasoned engineer, an apprentice just starting out, or a site supervisor, this episode is essential listening. We'll be exploring the dangers lurking beneath the ground level and in tight spaces, and more importantly, how to protect yourself and your team. So grab your hard hat and let's get connected. Let's start with a sobering reality. Working in excavations and confined spaces represents some of the most hazardous activities in building services engineering. Every year, workers are seriously injured or killed because proper safety procedures weren't followed. But here's the good news. These incidents are almost entirely preventable when we follow the right protocols. By the end of this episode, you'll understand the specific dangers associated with these environments and know exactly what safe working practices you will need to follow. So, let's dig in. Pun absolutely intended. First up, excavations. If you're working on a construction site, you're likely to encounter trenches where underground services need to be installed or repaired. We're talking about sewers, foundations, underground service mains, drains, wells and plant rooms. These aren't just holes in the ground. They're a potentially deadly environment that demands respect and proper planning. Here's the golden rule. If you need to work in an excavation, the job must be planned, risk assessed, managed and supervised. No exceptions. These 4 steps aren't red tape. They are your lifeline. So what are the actual dangers? Let me break down the 5 major threats. Number 1, collapse. This is the biggest one. Soil and earth are heavy, and when trench walls give way, they can bury workers in seconds. There's often no time to react. Number 2, we have floods. Water can rush into excavations from broken pipes, groundwater, or surface water, creating drowning hazards and disabling the walls. Number 3, buried services. Hit a gas line or electrical cable, you're looking at explosions, executions, or even toxic gas releases. And number 4, explosion. Ties back into the buried services, but also includes pockets of gas in the soil itself. And number 5, obstructions of escape routes. If something goes wrong and you can't get out quickly, a manageable solution becomes absolutely catastrophic. Now let's talk about the safety measures that keep you alive. Here's the critical threshold you need to remember. Any excavation deeper than 1.2 metres must have its sides supported. That's not a suggestion, it's a requirement. The sides must be shored up to prevent collapse. But depth isn't the only factor you need to consider. The type of ground you're digging, clay tends to be firmer and more stable, while sandy soils collapse more easily. If you're working on soft ground, the sides of an excavation should be sloped to reduce collapse risk. Always check the ground condition before you start digging. Access and egress. How are you getting in and out? You need safe, stable ladders or steps. And here's something many people overlook. The longer excavations, you need a second emergency exit ladder. If one escape route becomes blocked, you need a backup. Storage of spoil. That's the dirt you dig out. It needs to be stored away from the edge of the excavation, at least as far back as the depth of the trench. Why? Because the weight can cause the walls to collapse inwards. Vehicle stops. If vehicles are operating near the excavation, you need barriers to prevent them from driving into or causing vibrations that destabilise the walls. Warning notices and barriers. Every excavation site must have barriers to ensure nobody accidentally falls in. Proper signage warning people of the dangers. Think of this way every time you approach an excavation. You should think safety first, not let's get it done quickly or it's only a small trench. Safety first, always. Now let's move on from excavations to confined spaces, environments that are just as dangerous but in different ways. So what actually is a confined space? The official definition is a place where it is sustainably enclosed, though not always entirely, where serious injuries can occur from hazardous substances or conditions within the space or nearby. The key phrase there is lack of oxygen. You can't see oxygen, you can't smell it. But without it, you've got minutes before you're unconscious. In the building services engineering, you might encounter confined spaces in places like flues, chimneys, roof areas, sewers, attics, and under suspended floors. These cramped conditions aren't just uncomfortable, they're challenging and potentially deadly. Let me ask you a critical question. Can you get out if something goes wrong? Because that's the test. The safety of personnel is paramount, so a suitable emergency escape route must always be maintained, and communication with people outside the confined space must always be possible. Let's talk about the 5 major dangers in confined spaces. First of all, inadequate ventilation. This is the silent killer. Oxygen can be displaced by other gases or consumed by chemical reactions or decomposition. You might feel fine one moment and pass out the next. Second, inadequate lighting. If you can't see a hazard, you can't avoid them. Plus, if something goes wrong in the dark, panic sets in fast. Thirdly, flooding. Just like excavations, confined spaces can fill with water quickly, and in a tight space, there is nowhere to go. Fourth, obstructions and escape routes. In a confined space, your exit must be a small hatch or a narrow opening. If it gets blocked, you are trapped. And fifth, explosion. Flammable gases can accumulate in confined spaces, and a single spark can be catastrophic. Before you enter any confined space, you need to run through this checklist, and I mean every single time. Have I been trained? If you haven't received proper confined space training, you shouldn't be going in, period. Should I be working alone? The answer is always no. You need someone outside monitoring you, ready to raise the alarm if something goes wrong. And here's the crucial point. That person outside should never enter to rescue you without proper equipment and backup. More people die from trying to rescue others in confined spaces than from the original incident. Am I wearing the correct PPE? This might include respiratory protection, harnesses, gas detectors, and communication equipment. Is there adequate lighting? You need to see clearly to work safely. Is there adequate ventilation? This might mean forced ventilation to ensure fresh air is constantly circulating. Am I aware of the situation and the associated hazards? You need to understand what could go wrong and have a plan for each scenario. Here's the reality. Confined space work often requires permit to work systems. This is a formal documented process that ensures all hazards have been identified, all controls in place, and everyone knows their role. If you see a sign that says confined space, enter by permit only, that's not optional. You need to have that permit before you enter. So let's bring this all together. Whether you're working in excavations or confined spaces, the principles are the same. Plan the work, assess the risk, manage the hazards, and supervise the job. Never work alone in these environments. Always ensure you have a safe way out. And never ever take shortcuts with safety. Remember, you want to go home at the end of every shift. Your family wants you home. Your team needs you safe. These procedures exist because people have died when they weren't followed. Learn from their tragedies, but don't become another statistic. Okay, so that wraps up episode 13 of the Copper Connection podcast. I hope this episode has given you a clear understanding of the dangers in excavations and confined spaces, and more importantly, how to stay safe. If you've found this episode valuable, please share it with a colleague and a team member. Safety information saves lives, but only if people hear it. Before you go, don't remember, health and safety isn't just a tick box. It's how we'll all get home safely. Stay alert, stay trained, and stay safe out there. Until next time, this has been the Copper Connection podcast, keeping you connected to what matters in the building services engineering.
We'll be back next week. In the meantime, please subscribe and thanks for listening.